Hello, and welcome to another episode of Level Up CX Live, where we discuss the biggest trends and challenges facing the customer experience. We are coming to you today from the Orchestrators Hall at Genesys Experience, and I'm super excited to be joined by Sarup Paul, Vice President of Product Management at ServiceNow, and Jack Nichols, Vice President of Product Management at Genesys. And we're going to talk about the criticality of getting different systems across your enterprise, the front office, the middle office, the back office, to communicate, and in particular, how agentic AI is changing the way that these things happen. So Sarup and Jack, welcome to Level Up CX Live.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's just start with a brief recap of the news that was announced today. An expanded partnership, expanding on the partnership, I should say, that already existed between Genesys and ServiceNow. Jack, why don't you walk us through at a high level what was announced?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for those that aren't familiar with it is, we started this partnership, we were just talking about this earlier, about 24 months ago, coming up with what we call Unified Experience that we released a year ago. And that really brought together the two platforms. It brought together the agent experience, it brought together the data, and really started to unify it from a agent perspective, and we're seeing a lot of success. We had customers talking about that today, super excited, and we're kind of continuing to see that grow. But we're also having a lot of conversations. When we started this 24 months ago, we were just joking about this earlier, the word agentic wasn't in everyone's vernacular. Now it's all over everyone's vernacular. And so this kind of expanded partnership really starts to say, in a world of agentic where we start thinking about autonomous AI agents working, how do we build that integration together? And so we came together, about 4 months, 3-4 months ago, and started saying, how do we bring these platforms together so that customers not only get the great part of having the agent experience, but we also get that great part of self-service, automation, workflow automation, and be able to leverage that across both platforms.
Yeah.
So super excited.
So what would you add to that, right? Because it is an expansion, and as we talked about that front office to the back office connectivity, you're going to want those agentic agents talking to one another.
Yeah, the way to think about this is Unified Experience brings together the two partnerships, but there is so much of tailwinds in terms of agentic adoption in the industry. For us, it's more important that we have, between the two market leaders in this domain, have a point of view into how we do this. That is best for our customers and the best for our end users as well, right? So from that perspective, when we came together, we were very clear about how to do this. And so the partnership and the announcements around A2A is a very, very deliberate choice around how we do this and bring the power of the agents and the content and the data and the workflow that resides on ServiceNow and bring the agentic conversational platform from Genesys for better outcomes for our customers. Very well aligned. Jack and I have been working at this for almost 2 years. We almost see eye to eye about how to do things, and we always have customer first in our mind.
So let's stick with that notion, because what does this, in sort of simplistic terms, unlock for our joint customers?
Yeah, so from ServiceNow's perspective, because we are so close to workflows, I think it is undisputable about who does workflows better than ServiceNow. Workflows, 20 years, workflow automations, we're putting agentic on top of it. But what it really unlocks is the power of the horizontal and the vertical agents that ServiceNow is delivering. Horizontal across sales, across service, potentially marketing use cases, like the one that you saw on stage today, billing. It's actually a real agent that ServiceNow has. But those horizontal agents and then adding the vertical stack on top of it, verticalization or industry-specific solutions ServiceNow has been doing for a long, long time. And all of those are experiences, data models, and workflows. Now we layer on agentic on top of that. Every logic, every workflow is an agentic workflow. So the joint partnership actually brings those agents to the conversational layer, which is omni-channel, and not only self-service, but then it continues the journey into the human-assisted part of it.
Yeah. Jack, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I think, plus one to everything Sarup said. I think there's an amazing, and to me it actually simplifies. I continue to hear from customers for last year of, okay, everyone's got a AI platform. Who do I use? And I think Tony said it great this today on stage. There's not one AI platform to rule them all. And I think by opening up this A-to-A agentic integration between the two platforms really allows customers, especially customers that have already invested in both of us, to start to leverage the things they built and start to, I'll call it agentify, new terminology for
I love that word.
agentify those kind of capabilities that they've already built out. And, and for me, I mean, the true kind of nirvana for customers is the idea of a fully self-service, cross-platform, intent-to-outcome model where they can start to really blend these things together to drive kind of a new experience that they were never able to get to before, or they had to invest a lot of time and effort to get to.
Yeah. So you both talked about it in the introductory remarks, like this platform or this partnership rather started in 2024, first product release earlier this year, expansion today. Talk a little bit about like what's next, like not pre-releasing anything, but like how does this partnership continue to evolve, both for the benefit of the two companies, but more importantly for the benefit of our collective customers?
Yeah, so there is a lot of pent-up demand. I think outside of the product, how do we guide our customers to do the best way this is possible to be done? Not only for unified experience, but all the agentic experiences that we're bringing up. So I think that's a focus for us. How do we take this to the market? How do we enable our field people to sell this together to our joint customers?
To be able to talk about it, explain the benefits.
A lot of it is something that we have to simplify, things that we as product managers can do, but to the questions that customers are asking, how do we simplify that message? So a lot of that is there. Outside of A2A, there is a lot more that is happening in this partnership. How do we bring more closer partnerships around sales and order management capabilities that ServiceNow has, along with the outbound capabilities of Genesys, deeper partnerships around workforce engagement as well, given our strong focus on middle office, back office, case-centric workflows. There is a lot of expertise, but there is a pent-up demand again for how do we manage workforces that do both that kind of work as well as real-time work. So those are from a product perspective on the areas that we are working on together.
Yeah, and Jack, I love the examples that like we saw on the main stage this morning about real-world use cases. They touch all different parts of the organization, right? There's like from a customer's perspective, this distinction between what's the front and what's the middle, what's the back. It doesn't exist, right? So how would you reflect on kind of where we're going to go from here?
No, I think it's a really interesting question. We were just talking with some folks about the idea that I think one of the other parts that this brings in is the idea of two companies, two leaders in the spaces coming together that can go to an organization and kind of give them a framework to start. I hear it from customers all the time. How do I start? How do I move forward? Where do I go from here? And I think the idea of, a lot of them get, analysis paralysis, or they do it in a silo, and I think, us coming together, and I think, outside of just product teams, our other go-to-market teams coming together to start going, okay, here's a framework, here's a fabric that you can use this to start to implement it across your organization. Let's just choose one workflow. ServiceNow's got a lot of amazing vertical workflows. We're going to be adding into that. Once we unlock the A2A integration, the teams outside of us can really start to run with that, and then they can start to go to our customers and say, let's take this one workflow that goes across both systems and let's really agentify it. I'll use that word again, and bring that together. And I think that gives a customer a playbook and a framework now that they can feel more comfortable starting to move forward and not be kind of stuck in this analysis paralysis, because they're getting hit with something new every week of their life by every vendor out there. So
yeah, and I think that notion of find those use cases, figure out what works for you, and kind of build on those successes. Like, we've heard that again and again at the conference, and I think it's really important, because I do think whether it's agentification or something else, right? To your point, there's always something new. It's never going to be perfect, but the way you get towards perfection is you get in there and you start, right?
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit onto it. Like while we are building agentic and workflows that are inherently industry specific in nature, but each company is different. I mean, they are different, they are competitively different to others in their industry. So a lot of the work actually involves in working with those customers to taking their workflows, which are unique to them, and agentify it, their data, and making sure that those data are secure. That data is secure. It was being handled properly. So a lot of core development is actually happening with the customers. That is another motion that both of us are buying into, and that actually brings back some of those horizontal and vertical agentic workflows back into the platform for the broader community.
Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us, Sarup Paul from ServiceNow, Jack Nichols from Genesys. If you'd like to learn more about how the two organizations are working together, check out our respective websites. You can also see the news that was announced at Experience and learn more about that. Thank you, gentlemen. And we'll see you next time on Level Up CX Live.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Greg.